Welcome back into Honda Classic Live on ESPN 106.3. My name is Jerry Hamilton. Great to be with you guys today. If you're a golfer not willing to battle the four-club wind, I suggest the Palm Beach Kennel Club, live greyhound racing and simulcast horse racing on over 500 screens, plus a 64-table poker room with daily tournaments, high-hand giveaways, and mega bad beat jackpots. And try our table games with three-card poker and ultimate Texas Hold'em. Enjoy fine dining at the Paddock Restaurant, as well as casual dining with a great view in the terrace. For more information, visit pbkennelclub.com. The Palm Beach Kennel Club, more ways to win, more winners, and more fun. Without further ado, we welcome in the sports professor, Rick Horrow. I hear you're on your way to play racquetball. I'm guessing you're going to be hitting a Miami Dolphins racquetball today very violently.
Well, here's the question, right? Does Miami today beat Bethune-Cookman with a larger spread than the Patriots beat the Dolphins?
No.
That's an interesting no. No, that's interesting.
No,
Let me ask you this before we get into this, because the Kennel Club read was great. My question was, and I was okay, but I sissied out. Racquetball is a lot easier because it's not in the wind. If you normally would take a 7-iron on hole X, and you're going to pull out a driver, how many clubs is that? Is that a 4-club win? Is that an 8-club win? What is that?
It's too early to do that much math, Rick.
I know.
But let me tell you something. Walking from my car to the studio, it's a 4-club win today.
It's at least a 4-club win. It blows that hat off. And with you, I would protect every part of your head I possibly could.
Nobody wants to see that.
No.
All right, so before we get into some of the business side, I got to ask you, what was your takeaway from the Ravens-Dolphins game as a lifelong Dolphins fan? Worst season opening loss in the history of NFL. Are we there for a team?
Keep taking it away. Yeah, take it away. I remember, and this is a little bit, bittersweet. My dad gave me 4 tickets in the mid-'60s. He died of cancer for 2 weeks after he gave me the tickets, and he said, we're going together, and we knew that he wouldn't make it. And I remember going to the opening Raiders game with the Dolphins, and this brought back memories, not great ones, but, happy ones with my dad. But the first play of the Dolphin history, I don't know if we remember, but Joe Auer returned a opening kickoff for a touchdown in the Orange Bowl. They lost, but they didn't lose 59-10. And so, I don't know what to make of that random set of comments, but it's not good.
Yeah, that was. I jokingly said Lamar Jackson, being a Palm Beach County resident, our player at Boynton Beach, was coming for the souls of Miami Dolphins fans. I didn't think it was going to become reality, though. I was joking.
When you joked about that, you should have, taken a look at how the Dolphins secondary would play, and then the post-game chatter about playing out of position and wanting a trade and all of that kind of stuff. And luckily, I was out of town for a lot of that, and I'm leaving town right after the Dolphin game. So here's my other issue. Quickly, you could tell me I'm playing Wingfoot on Monday. I know that does not, it's not relevant to the question, but I'm telling you anyway. There's an HSBC event, so I've got to get in early Monday morning. So I'm getting in on Sunday night. The only flight to Westchester County Airport leaves at like 4:10, and I'm thinking, well, I can only stay until 2:30 at the Dolphin game. Then I got to leave, and I'm thinking, all right, it'll be okay.
It's going to be over.
It doesn't really matter.
It's going to be over by then. I don't see a dramatic last-second victory for the Dolphins this year. I think you're good.
No miracle in Miami this year, I'm afraid.
So one of the takeaways from one of your topics this week was nearly 1/4 of adults in the United States say they would have bet on an NFL game this season. Are you surprised by that number? Or did you think it would be higher?
It ought to be higher.
Yeah.
And frankly, you saw the number I also added, that about 40% or more say they're going to bet on the games, whether it's legal in their state or not. 38 million admitted. And now, in the leather helmet days when I was doing all the stadium stuff for the NFL, and it was trying to find the public money, I said, go find it, but don't deal with Indian gaming. Don't deal with casino money. Don't deal with Indian land. Don't deal with anything that's sponsorship that remotely deals with gambling. And that was less than 20 years ago. And now if you don't include it, not only the revenue, but the apps and maybe the restaurants like Buffalo Wild Wings tie in, and the idea of having gambling on premises, which people are saying it's unheard of, but, they do it in England. And if you look at all the new expansion designs, nobody's public with it, but everybody's doing it. It would be silly to leave that money on the table. Silly not only for the teams and the leagues, but silly for the states, because they got to fund parks and libraries and recreational facilities and schools and everything somehow, and this is a way to do it. So this is the tip of an iceberg. And, I just got to tell you, I got 24 points, 24 and a half tomorrow from a cynical Harvard law friend, by the way, just so you know. And I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried.
The sports professor, Rick Horrow, joining on the Classic Live. And you mentioned Buffalo Wild Wings, and that's where I was going to transition to. They're moving towards the sports gambling world as well alongside MGM. What can you tell the listeners about that?
Well, it's a trend. They get an entertainment company like MGM to validate because MGM's already in gambling. And then they're trying out opportunities to get as many people into the Buffalo Wild Wings as possible with apps and content and devices where you can anticipate plays and bet. So if it's successful, you're going to have, for a small period of time, until other fast food or other restaurants catch on, an opportunity where if you go to Buffalo Wild Wings and you deal with the food and you deal with the scenery, you also have unique opportunities to gamble in ways that other people don't. So, you don't even want to talk about specifics yet because tomorrow it's going to be outdated. They're going to do more next week and the week after. Good for them.
U.S. Open, the tennis, last major of the tennis season wrapped up. And the U.S. Open, compared to other majors, Rick, is maybe more of an event around the tournament. Kind of talk about Rafael Nadal obviously won his 19th major and just a thrilling match. We've had a great year in the majors in tennis, but he pocketed $3.85 million. But talk about just how much money is being generated at the U.S. Open and how great of a job they are doing having a great event around the tennis major.
Quick self-effacing story that I'm sure you'd appreciate. So I'm on weekly with TSN in Canada, and a week and a half ago, I said, "Who the hell is Bianca Andreescu?" I can't even pronounce her name. So
there's a reason I didn't say that. There's a reason I said Nadal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, you better start saying it because she's going to be huge, and I'm on in an hour, so I better start saying it too. And the point there is that she made $3.8 million as well. So obviously, it's equal prize money, men's and women's. And when you think about the issue, it's $1 billion of economic impact for New York. It's nearly 800,000 spectators. They keep breaking attendance records, and more important, they get the money in their plan for growth that's directly related to the tournament, and then spread it around 30,000 courts they build, and their youth programs, and their development opportunities. So it's obviously not just an event, as you talk about, but it is a way to fund U.S. tennis in the future. Good for it. And frankly, I miss the U.S. Open. I can't believe we were treated to a 5-set thriller last week. I was figuring out how to jump and make sure I ended from the second floor of my place. But second floor, you can't do that after the Dolphin game. So I watched the U.S. Open, and all was right after that. You forgot about football.
And one thing that caught me this week as well is in your top 5 in tech. The NFL joins TikTok to cater to Generation Z. And that struck me because I have a 13-year-old son, and I know all about TikTok. So kind of inform the listeners that don't know about TikTok what's going on with the NFL catering to Generation Z.
You punch your device. How about Joe Biden and the use of record player? I don't know if you saw that, but that's it brings those memories back. So it's obviously a company that is before this didn't work with, but now works with the NFL. You have a instant download. You have a way to speed up games. You have a way to bring games to a demographic that are on the fence. They could do anything, and this is a great example, Jerry, because your son, whether he's a football fan or not, obviously he is because of your background and your dad's and your family's, but if there's another 13-year-old out there who doesn't know a lot about the NFL but knows a lot about TikTok, this is a way to get them to be NFL
Absolutely.
fans. So it's fantastic. You're right.
Steph Curry and his wife linked up with PGA Tour Reach to host their first charity golf tournament. For those unfamiliar with that, kind of talk about that and how big of a deal that is for the Currys with PGA Tour reach and the world of golf.
Well, first of all, PGA Tour continues to excite with what they do to expand the game. The first tee program years ago, nobody knew what it was, and now it's the biggest generator of charitable money. And this is another example. The whole program that Steph Curry produces, which is no more than glorified miniature golf, everybody said, well, that's silly, but it's a way to bring people into the game.
Yes, it is.
And now, from a larger perspective, right, you have the National Golf Foundation for the first time, including Topgolf and others, in there who plays golf. So, if it's miniature golf on TV, if it's the way to generate more money for charity, good for Steph Curry and good for branching out and a great idea to expand golf to the masses even more.
Jerry Hamilton of Honda Classic Live on ESPN 106.3, joined by the sports professor Rick Horrow. Rick, well, it's prediction time. We'll start with We'll start with the Dolphins and Patriots. What do you got? Besides pain. And suffering.
No. You know why? Because every time I was familiar with you, I always predicted a Dolphin win, and by definition, I was right. 30% of the time. I'm going to pass, except I will tell you that if you listened, 2 minutes ago, you heard how many points I got from my friend. That ought to tell you enough. And I'm, seeing all the guys tomorrow, and we're talking about a kind of a big event for Super Bowl week that celebrates the 50 years of sports history. I don't want anybody saying, don't you have any loyalty? Of course I have loyalty. I'm showing up. I'm there for at least a half. Right, that's your answer there. Now, what else do you want?
Manny Diaz obviously will get his first win today as a head coach of the Hurricanes. But is he going to take out the frustration of losing to Mac Brown? Because let's be real, he lost to the guy that fired him last week. Okay, that stings. I don't care what you say publicly. That one stings. He wanted to beat Mac Brown really bad. How many points would you give me in Bethune-Cookman game today?
52. And by the way, he lost to the guy who fired him on a 4th and 17.
Yeah, 4th and 17 with a freshman quarterback.
A, B, C, the defense was playing prevent defense, no closer than 20 yards from the ball. What's that, right? I mean, when you think about it, it's just they could have been 1-1, could have, should have. Well, they could have been 2-0, but anybody can say that. But that win. And now when Wake Forest waxed North Carolina last week, it looks even worse, right? It looks even worse. So all right, forget 52, 72.
I think it's going to be as many as they can tack on in this game.
Poor Bethune-Cookman. They're going to beat Bethune by 36 and Cookman by 36.
Sit back with $600,000 to take a butt kicking, as usual.
Right.
That's exactly a good thing, right? So, Rick, what's coming up on the Power Sports?
Yeah, a big Chicago show. Cal Ripken and Dan Towers and Tom Ricketts of the Cubs opened a field, cut a ribbon. We're doing that all week this week, and then we're going to Indianapolis for an event he's having, by the way, the Indy Women in Tech, which is the forerunner of the Gamebridge Boca Rio tournament that will be Pro Bowl week starting this next year. So we'll kind of cover that and its evolution as it relates down here, even though it's a national show. So we got that going on, and then I'm leaving tomorrow for 2 weeks of football, going to the Patriots next week, and next week I will root for the Patriots. Basically, I'll be there. I'm not going to talk about rooting for them this week. But so 2 weeks on the road, and we'll talk next Saturday from probably Boston. I'm going to see an Ivy League game. That'll be good.
That is the sports professor, Rick Horrow. But, of course, we'll start next week with a recap of your 77 at Wingfoot Monday. So that'll be great to get the highlights and your thoughts from your sub-80 round at Wingfoot. Rick, thanks for joining us. Have a great racquetball game, and best of luck, and we'll talk to you next week.
I'm refining my foot wedge for the rough out there at Wingfoot. See you later. Bye.
See you later. And Rick Horrow, the sports professor. When we come back on Honda Classic Live, it'll be the three biggest headlines in the world of golf presented by the Palm Beach Par 3.